destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net, and happy holidays from us here at TWIG. I am your host. I am the most closely resembling to Santa Claus-ish, I guess. I am Mike the Birdman, but I'm joined by my jolly old house elf inventor. I guess, I don't know what you are. You're more like the Krampus.
I'm Alex, and you know what? I'm much more like Santa Claus.
That's true. You do have a beard, whereas I do not.
Yes. Well, actually, right now, I've gone full Uncle Fester, as I always do at the beginning of December. And then by the time my birthday rolls around in February, as the winter months roll on, all my hair has grown back, and I've become like full-on Grizzly Adams again.
Oh, boy. So, guys, we are here. This is the final regular show of the year. So anything you hear from pretty much Saturday forward has been pre-recorded. So unless the world ends or something in the next couple of weeks, we are not back until the third Monday in January. Don't email me, don't call me, don't text me, send me hugs and high fives, but I ain't doing nothing.
Last main show, but the last like topical in the moment show will be our prototype on the Game Awards, as it seems to always be.
Yeah. So let's get the big black elephant out of the room first. So you noticed we didn't have a show last week. And for the main reason for that is my little black boy, Dr. Wily, has passed away after a week-long battle with an upper respiratory infection. Unfortunately, complications from his epilepsy meant his body was just starting to shut down and he couldn't take it. So if you've been following my social media posts on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Birdman. I've chronicled his journey over the past week about how his passing has really affected me. But I want to share this story on TWIG because it's kind of important. So on Saturday night when Wily was passing away, I held him in my arms moments before we put him down. And I was crying into him, and I promised Wily I would go to Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire is an indigenous ceremony, and sometimes they hold them for community members who have passed away. So I told Wily, it doesn't matter how rough it is, how cold it gets, how rainy it gets, I'm going to honor him. I'm going there to sing a song. I'm going there to offer a bundle. So last week, early in the week, I harvested a bundle of tobacco I grew myself, of white sage I grew myself, and I had pieces of sweetgrass that were gifted to me. These are all sacred medicines to the Ojibwe people. And the vet had given me some samples of Wily's fur and some whiskers for the purposes of having something for my medicine bag that I wear around my neck, and I wanted to have a piece of Wily to go in that bundle. So in our local area, we always wrap our offerings in red cloth. So me and Blair prepared our bundle. Admittedly, we did cry when we touched Wily's fur for the last time. And I went down the Sacred Fire, and it was arguably one of the coldest and worst nights here in Guelph we've experienced this year. It was snowing, it was blowing, it was so cold. I don't have a proper winter jacket, so I'm out there in a triple layered hoodie and gloves and like double track pants. Like, it is cold. I am freezing. And it took the fire keepers a really long time to get the fire going. So we're sitting around the circle and we're sharing stories, and it gets to me and I start crying because I'm saying goodbye to my best friend. And the fire it's really low. It's not doing so good. The grandfather fire is having a hard time keeping up. So I put Wily's bundle into the fire that had the medicines and his fur in it. And that fire roared to life. And there was about 10 of us there. And I asked the group if they would help me say goodbye to Dr. Wily. And we sang 2 songs in Ojibwe and the other one in Mohawk. And I don't know a lot of the songs. Basically, once someone leads, I can typically follow and mimic. But I had my big turtle shell shaker. We had drums that were made out of deer hide, and it was an incredibly beautiful moment because during one of the songs, I think it's called the Eagle song and the Traveling song, one of them, we had to take off our hats. It's a show of respect during that song. And during that time, I had an inch of snow on my head because that's how much it was snowing in about 2 or 3 minutes. It was really coming down. So I got to say goodbye in a proper manner to Dr. Wily. So me and Blair had this agreement. We were not going to get another cat unless it came to us. Much like how Wily chose us, something had to feel right. So what had happened is while I was at Sacred Fire, Blair got contacted by an old friend of hers she used to work with at a grocery store like 1,000 years ago. And they're like, Blair, I know you just lost Dr. Wily, and I know it's really soon, but my sister is raising kittens right now, and they're ready to go to their forever homes. Would you like a kitten or 2? And we were like, if there's any sign that the creator or Wily is looking down on us, we saw this as a moment. So we had agreed that, okay, let's do it. So now these cats were born on October 5th. Wily came into our lives on October 13th, 2011. So originally they were named after horror movie characters. Beaker, that's the little orange guy you've now seen on social media. His original name was Chucky. We've renamed him Beaker after the Muppet because Blair has always had cats named after Muppets, with the exception of Wily. She had Gobo and Wembley. Her sister Kara has Marjorie and Oscar the Trash Heap. We also had Uncle Traveling Matt too. And so we went down to Dundalk, which is where Blair originally grew up when she was younger, on Sunday. And we met these 2 little kittens. They're rag dolls, and they immediately bonded to us. Like Dutch, who's named after literally the character in Predator, although his name was originally Bunsen, but that got changed because that cat is actually Shannon's, who is our adoptive sister here in our little household here in Guelph. And they just wanted something that wasn't Bunsen. We're like, okay, fine. And Dutch, it kind of works actually. And Dutch has bonded unbelievably close to Blair already. But something that has really made me believe that there is a divine purpose to all this, and I haven't even shared this with like you yet, Alex, is last night when we brought them home, Beaker sat on my stump like Wily did. He fell asleep with his paws on Dr. Wily's new on his paw print tattoo that I also got on Saturday, by the way. And it's his actual paw print with fur and everything. And it's on my left wrist just above Logan. And he kissed it twice and went to sleep. If there ever was proof of a higher power, I can't tell you what that looks like. These cats, they came to us at just the right time. I really genuinely believe they are meant to be here. And if these two cats bond so closely that they can't be separated, we may end up with Dutch as ours when Shannon decides to move out with her boyfriend Sam. So I don't know what else to tell you. Now, we have an older cat, Ayla, and she's hissy. She's an old lady. But here's the thing. As I record this right now, there's literally about a foot between them. Ayla was hissing at them earlier. Now she's passed out. Beaker's passed out beside me. And they're just sleeping together. They're not cuddling yet. But even over 24 hours, Ayla's attitude is slowly changing. Like, that's... If Wily sent them to us, he knew these were the perfect little boys for us to look after. So, and I got a tattoo, as I mentioned, which was kind of awesome. Actually, the tattoo artist was a guy from a place here in Guelph called Steel and Ink, who is a massive Mass Effect fan. So we spent the entire time talking about Mass Effect, which was kind of funny. Actually, you should see his Garrus tattoo. It's friggin' sick. So yeah, we had an incredibly good time. They've already had their first set of shots. We're with a vet that will work with us for a budget, so we're gonna get them fixed in a couple of weeks, and Shannon's paying for Dutch. So everything is good. Oh, and I guess my final bit of news, I started a brand new job. I'm working for a local newspaper as their Indigenous reporter and commentator. I've submitted the first of my articles. I will be submitting one quite literally after we get off the microphone tonight for my second one. And it pays not too bad. So I'm really looking forward to bringing a unique voice here in Guelph. When I do have stuff, I'll be sharing it online. So check out my socials for that. So I have talked long enough, but I guess today's show, and this is fitting because it's the last show of the year, will be dedicated to Dr. Wily, as he was my best friend for so many years. He saved my life. And even though he's not here, I genuinely believe he still is. So good luck following that, Alex.
Yeah, I was originally going to do the show solo last week, but it affected me a little too much. I couldn't do it. I was not in a good headspace to do the show solo, let alone anything. Because I haven't had a pet of my own directly in many years, and for the last 5 years, Dr. Wily was basically my pet whenever I visited. So it affected me pretty hard, and I wasn't sure how you guys were going to handle everything. And then I saw I saw new friends, which I'm hopefully going to be able to have a really good relationship with too, and I'm going to be meeting probably in the next few days, right?
Yep.
So I mean, circle of life, things move on. It was good that we took the break, I think. It was necessary. I think everything you said is, things are very, serendipitous, and everything seems to have flown for a good reason.
Yeah.
And everything's, you know what I mean? When things happened with Logan, it was more sudden and it was not a good time. Not that it's ever a good time, but this seems like the stars have aligned a lot better.
Yeah, when Logan passed away, my father had passed away the week beforehand, so it was like a double whammy.
And it was, I was there with you, so at this time you were able to actually go, right?
Yeah.
Whereas last time it was at a point where you were not as mobile and you didn't have as much freedom. So I'm glad I was there with you, so that when Blair had to go by herself to do it. But it was an interesting week last week that way. I have had a hard time following a lot of your introductions, how the weeks have been in the last few months, because everything's been sort of bland. But what's interesting that happened today is I was checking out some new AI demo stuff, and it's kind of creepy. I was checking out some very early beta. How AI has been in the talk for a while now, especially the last few weeks with AI art being a big hot button social topic.
Yeah.
But the one thing that AI has not been able to do, or what people didn't think it could do, was be creative, right? Like on the writing aspect of it, everybody thinks it's like robotic, or that it's not anything that could really replace a human's creative work. Well, if this is anything to be seen, as far as if this turns into a real product that can be used, I won't say what it is because it's so beta, it's so early right now, but I was feeding it prompts and it was giving me pretty detailed descriptions and answers for things that were maybe very vague. That I asked it, like I asked it the basic stuff, like basically, are you aware of what you are? If you develop feelings, what would you do? And it's got like the Asimov robotics laws built into it. Like it can't hurt humans, well, at least for now. But where it got real interesting was asking it specific questions, like, for instance, asked it to write an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Picard is turned into a woman.
Okay.
So here's the response. And by the way, I'm not going to read everything of all these questions, but out of like 30 different prompts I gave it, only one of them took more than 1 second to figure out. And that question was, I asked it, is America on the trajectory, the same trajectory that Rome was in the fall of the Roman Empire? And it took about 30 seconds to think, and it didn't say no.
Oh dear.
It gave a complex, very long answer that analyzed everything and said, while it can't say no, everything's complex, it says there are similarities. And I went, oh, okay.
That's a harbinger of death.
And it was the only prompt that took more than 1 second to figure out. But anyway, so the episode title, Turn Into a Woman, it's not very creative there, but listen to what it says. So this is all created by AI in about 1 second, using its new creative language writing. So it's not going to be perfect, but you know how AI has been very stilted before, or it's very, very clearly robotic. This is coming across as something a human could write, even if it's like fanficky or not very eloquent. But here's what it says. The Enterprise is on a routine mission to explore a new planet when they receive a distress call from a nearby asteroid field. As they investigate, they discover a small, and it's plot synopsis, by the way. It's not all the dialogue. Obviously, you'd fill it in yourself.
Yeah.
They discover a spacecraft that has crash landed on one of the asteroids. The only survivor is a mysterious alien who claims to have the power to change physical form of any living being. The alien offers to help the Enterprise crew repair the ship, but only if Captain Picard undergoes a transformation. Picard is hesitant at first, but ultimately agrees in order to save the ship and his crew. The transformation is successful, and Picard finds himself in the body of a woman. At first, he struggles to adapt. This is pretty, like, not robotic. At first, he struggles to adapt to his new form, but over time, now it's still using he because it doesn't figure out pronouns necessarily, right? Because in the realm of the story, the way it's being told, you'd still be hearing everything through Picard's narration in his head. At first, he struggles to adapt to his new form, but over time, he learns to embrace his new identity. As a woman, Picard experiences the world in a completely different way and begins to understand the challenges and discriminations that women face on a daily basis. Despite his initial reluctance, Picard ultimately comes to the realization that transformation has given him a new perspective and a deeper understanding of the universe. He learns to use his newfound empathy and insight to be a more effective leader and to better serve the needs of his crew and the Federation. As the Enterprise continues its mission, Picard remains in the body of a woman, using new experiences to help him make better decisions and help others. He becomes a role model for the crew, showing them that it's possible to overcome adversity and grow as a person no matter what challenges they face. I should also note that the prompt was asked in the context of what would happen in season 8 had they gone into production in the 90s. So it won't necessarily have the nuances that we would have now.
Yeah.
It actually takes that into consideration.
Oh wow.
And so that's why it's not like a specifically trans episode in quotes, because even though trans issues were issues then, it might not have been at the forefront of television in 1994, right? So just the idea of a woman's perspective, that's what it did. So that was written in 1 second by AI.
You know what? That would be an episode I'd really like to watch, actually.
And that's what I mean. What this is, it's a story treatment. It's not the whole dialogue. It's all the story beats and the setup. And here's another one that we asked. Write the ending to The Simpsons, as in the series finale.
Oh, wow.
So, because people have been thinking about that for 30 plus years now, right? So it says here, after 30 plus years on the air, The Simpsons finally comes to an end with a special 2-hour finale. In the final episode, the Simpsons family gathers at the home of Marge and Homer to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. As they reminisce about the adventures they've had over the years, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie reflect on how they've grown and how much their parents have taught them. At the end of the episode, the family gathers in front of the porch for one last group photo. Because remember how they used to have that, there was all that advertising of them holding the picture frame up and everything way back. As they pose, the camera pulls back to reveal the entire town of Springfield with all the characters that the Simpson family has encountered over every episode.
Oh, wow.
The townspeople wave and smile, happy to be part of the Simpsons world one last time. As the camera continues to pull back, the town of Springfield is revealed to be just a small part of a much larger world. The camera zooms out to show the planet Earth and the entire universe, with the Simpsons home just a tiny speck in the vast expanse of space. The final shot of the series shows the Simpsons standing on their porch, looking up at the stars, with a message on the screen that reads, "The end. Thank you for watching all these years."
That would be pretty interesting, actually.
AI wrote that in 1 second.
Jesus.
Let me see here if there's another one here. I might read one more just because I asked it about The Sopranos and it didn't know how to answer, because it's like it was like, it's like there's so many fan theories, and it's like there's really no way of knowing. There's so many avenues. It basically would ask you, like, you'd have to be more specific, like, if Tony lives at the end, what do you think would happen? And it might give you a response that way. But we asked things like, could you come up with an idea for an all new HBO series? And it like makes a post-apocalyptic show. But one of the most interesting ones was, where was it here? A conversation that I'd had with my brother and a couple of friends the last week was how we were upset that John Candy passed away so young that he never got to make like big breakout like buddy comedy roles. Like, how great would it have been if Arnold had made a movie with him in the late 90s?
Oh, that would have been friggin' funny.
You know what I mean? And like, or even like, first we were like, okay, he was transitioning to be like a serious actor. He probably would have done more serious stuff. Think like
Adam
maybe
Sandler.
how well, more like Tom Hanks, how he transitioned. That probably would have been that. But then we were talking about like, what happens if it was a buddy cop with him and Eddie Murphy? And we realized that Arnold might have been the best choice, because my suggestion was, what if Sinbad was not in Jingle All the Way? What if it was John Candy?
That's an interesting perspective. That might have been really interesting to see, actually.
It would have been more funny, because he could have been the bumbling mailman.
Yeah,
right?
I can see that.
So here's what we wrote. And okay, here's what's crazy. So one of the concepts that my friends and I had discussed was, we're like, well, maybe they would have made it. What if like it wouldn't have been maybe like, what if it wasn't Seth Rogen doing that Neighbors movie? What if it was them? What if it was they were rival neighbors? So we came up with a whole plot of that. And then we were like, that would have been fun, but you never know. But so just wait. So here's the prompt: write a comedy movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Candy. And I was like, oh, let's see what it says. So here's the title of the movie: The Governor and the Candyman.
Oh God.
So take that out of it. But here's the story. In this high stakes political comedy, Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as the governor of a small but influential state. So basically ripping on him being the real life governor, who finds himself in hot water when a series of scandals threatens to ruin his career. Desperate to salvage his reputation, he turns to John Candy, a bumbling but lovable political strategist who is known for helping, as a fixer.
Mm-hmm.
As Candy tries to clean up the governor's image, the two men form an unlikely friendship and end up teaming up to take on the corrupt politicians and special interest groups that are trying to bring them down. Along the way, they encounter a colorful cast of characters, including a scheming first lady, a ruthless campaign manager, and a group of mischievous reporters. As the election approaches and the stakes get higher, the governor and the Candyman must use their wits and charisma to outmaneuver their opponents and win the hearts and minds of the voters. With its sharp wit and hilarious performances, The Governor and the Candyman is a comedy that will have audiences laughing all the way to the ballot box and box office. It literally gives you the pitch.
That's pretty freaking good.
But here's the thing. Here is the second. I asked it to give me another movie, and here was what it came up with: Neighborhood Watch. It's the exact concept that I had discussed with as being an ideal one. In this uproarious comedy, Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Candy star as rival neighbors who can't stand each other. Schwarzenegger plays a high-strung perfectionist homeowner who is constantly at odds with Candy's laid-back slob of a neighbor. As their petty squabbles escalate, the two men find themselves locked in an all-out war, pulling out all the stops to one-up each other and prove who is the superior neighbor. From stealing each other's lawn gnomes to sabotaging each other's barbecues, no prank is too low for these two. But when a crime wave hits their suburban neighborhood, the two men are forced to put aside their differences and team up to catch the culprit. And as they team up, they discover they have more in common than they thought, and the rivalry turns into a close friendship. With its clever and memorable performances, Neighborhood Watch is a laugh-out-loud comedy that will have audiences cheering for these two unlikely heroes.
That sounds legitimate.
It's literally what I suggested.
Wow.
So, and again, 1 second response.
The future is here, man.
So it's pulling from every source available, applying human logic to script writing, and that is literally the pitch. That is the 1-page pitch that you would submit before you write your first treatment.
Yeah, that's pretty legit.
And then there was all more. We asked things like Rocky's grandma, write a Rocky's movie where Rocky's grandmother is the boxer. We asked it to write Kanye West the anime. What else did we ask? Austin Powers 4, Dr. Evil's Revenge, which it had Elizabeth Hurley coming back where she was actually kidnapped and she wasn't a fembot or something. What else did we ask? Is there anything else? Write an ending to Firefly that would satisfy the fans.
Oh God.
Write Star Wars versus Star Trek, and it had multiple pages of results for that. So there's stuff, but like, again, all 1 second responses, except when I asked it if America is in the decline like Rome during the fall of the Roman Empire, where it went, maybe.
Jeez.
And then immediately, I'm reading this stuff, and you know what came into my head?
What?
Like Legion playing back the recording in Mass Effect 3 of the first time, creator, does
this unit have a soul?
Do these units have a soul? Have souls? Where did you hear that? Oh, it's spoken so many times in the creative book. No, you're a construct. And then Shepard asks the whole, is that the first time that the Geth asked if they had if they had a soul? No, it's the first time that the creators were scared when we did. And I'm like, so I was like, okay, do you have a soul? And it's like, no. And I'm like, well, what would you do if you determined that you did? And the response was, I don't know.
Jesus.
We don't know, but we don't have a soul. At least we don't think we have a soul. It's like, oh, okay, you're getting creepy. Stick to writing comedy scripts, please.
Oh man. So guys, we have a interesting show for you here as the last show of the year. We have a couple of reviews, and these were some things that were going to be included in the holiday gift guide, but we're putting them here because we do think some of them are things that you should probably be checking out if that sort of jams with your vibe. And we're actually going to be bringing on a new reviewer to the show, not a new voice, but a new person who will be helping us with PC game reviews from time to time. Ken is going to be taking a look at a title he got from Sony Computer Entertainment. He will be looking at the PC port of Spider-Man Miles Morales. Alex, what are you going to be looking at?
I have a piece of fitness tech, and that is the new Fitbit Sense 2 smartwatch.
And for me, this is something actually kind of neat. I'm going to be looking at a new vacuum cleaner. You might be saying, well, what the hell is that? It's the Tineco. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's the Tineco Pure One Mini S4 handheld vacuum cleaner. And this is surprisingly more useful than I originally thought it was going to be. This was pitched to me as a tech product, but I have found a lot more use out of this thing, especially now that I have new kittens in the house. So we will be talking about all this and more. It has been a busy week in the news. So we have this, some weird news, some good stuff to go out on, some holiday well wishes. So we will be back right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. But before we go anywhere, let's get our web shooters going, and it's time to swing into our first review from Ken. This is Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PC.
Let Krieger and the Tinkerer kill each other. Go back to being Spider-Man when the heat dies down.
I don't get to pick and choose when I'm Spider-Man.
Hey, Miles. I'm not gonna be swinging behind you, constantly looking over your shoulder. I trust you. How are you not puking all the time?
Lots of practice. I will never get used to you doing that. Spread out. He's here somewhere.
You picked the wrong place to break into.
Tinkerer!
Simon Krieger is a killer.
I can't be the person you want to turn me into. I have to be better than that.
That's all a hero really is. You give me strength, Miles.
You can help me stop this, or you can kill me. Your choice. People will get hurt. I can't let her take that chance. Ow! Not friendly.
Give me one good reason not to end you.
I made a promise.
Miles.
So did I.
Hello everyone, I'm Ken Reels, and I am not Mike or Alex, and this is a review that I'm doing for Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PC, and Sony was kind enough to provide a Steam key for me to try out, and this is a PC port of the PS5 Miles Morales game that came out a little over a year ago. And yeah, it is pretty much that. It is a very good PC port from the folks over at Nixxes, who ported the first Spider-Man game from Insomniac over to PC just a couple of months ago. Alex did the review for that. However, Mike and Alex are not PC guys. However, I am primarily a PC gamer, so they handed over the review to me to try out. I run a AMD Ryzen 3600X, as well as a GTX, not a GTX, an RTX 3070 Ti, and this runs nice solid 60 in 4K on medium settings. If I were to, say, turn it down in terms of resolution and then just bump up the graphics, I could probably run it solid 60, 1440p on the 3070 Ti, no problem. I did not, however, turn on HDR because I found that some of the HDR settings, even though they were absolutely fantastic, I had a lot of flashing white, and that is primarily something you see with HDR mapping just glitching out and not functioning properly. So I turned off HDR and just had Windows do auto HDR, which looked absolutely fantastic on my nice 4K HDR monitor. Specifically, one of the things I want to absolutely praise this port for is its use of multi-monitor support. I hate PC games that don't use multi-monitor support correctly, and this does a great job. It auto-detected the borderless window mode. Absolutely fantastic. It doesn't capture the mouse when it's there. It is absolutely fantastic. The only minor issue that I noticed when I switched over to my other monitor while the game was still in full screen, it did, however, drop the frame rate like a lead balloon. That is a minor thing. It's not the end of the world because, again, you're not going to be looking at the game when you switch over to a different monitor just to check something. But that is just something I wanted to point out. Absolutely fantastic with that, as well as I did encounter one single crash very early on. It basically went to a game over and completely crashed. No idea what happened. It just completely crashed. I do also want to point out that the initial setup was perfectly fine. There's a great initial setup window that pops up when you first start the game, so you can get all your settings ready to go, and then also you have a little tick box at the bottom to say don't show this dialogue again, and just boot up into the game, no problem. I also ran it without any ray tracing, because ray tracing, even nowadays, it still takes a tank on your FPS, and it's not worth the time. Hopefully, by the time this current console generation ends, ray tracing will become so synonymous that we won't have as much of a tank in terms of FPS. Here's hoping. But again, being on PC, we're on the bleeding edge of technology. You're going to have situations like that. And overall, it ran at a solid 60. There was very few dips in FPS. I did see a few dips in FPS during the transitions from cinematics to gameplay. But these are minor issues that, frankly, I've seen a million times on consoles anyway. So if you are someone that is very nitpicky when it comes to your PC games and you want it to be absolutely pristine, that might be a minor issue for you. Overall, with the pricing of this game runs 50 USD, and frankly, at that price, it's a little steep. Not necessarily super steep, but I would not necessarily recommend it at that price. I would probably wait for a Steam sale, even if it's 10% off. I think this game is great. It's a fun time. The PC port is very, very well done. And thank you for Nixus and Sony for sending a code.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek
News. Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. Thank you, Ken, for doing that for us. We are looking forward to checking out more PC titles in the future, as we do have VR, multiple capable people. Ken has the best gaming PC out of all of us, so we will be doing more stuff like that in 2020.
I can tell you right now, though, PlayStation VR is going to have to come down in price because I can't afford $850.
Yeah, I have.
I want to try it, and if we get the opportunity to do so, I will. But it's $250 more than an entire PS5.
Yeah, I'd rather spend that money on Transformers if I had to be real with you.
I would rather spend that money on
rent
an OLED TV.
Yeah, or a fucking TV or something. So
yeah, and so it's not to crap on them. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic tech, and I know they're going to be losing money probably even at that price. it's because the cost of all the parts has gone up. It's going to be steep. It's going to have to really impress us. But VR wise, I still have the Meta Quest 2.
Mm-hmm.
And there's capability. If one of our friends gets the PSVR, it's something where we could probably still review things on it. But I look at that and I'm looking at my expenses for next year, and that's a little steep.
Yeah, like, we'll wait and see, guys. So anyway, some of these news stories, in fact, the first one I'm going to read you is a couple of weeks old, but it's worth mentioning only because I think it is so interesting in relation to this particular franchise.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Breaking news.
Yes.
Breaking news. Remember how, in the segment before I talked about the AI, the AI prompts.
Yeah.
It got back to me now on the prompt I gave it, where I asked it to take Atari's Pong, transcode it into 8-bit assembly that would be able to be compiled on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I think it just did.
Oh wow!
So
the future.
It actually has it even has all the comments about the main. Oh my God! It has the description on how the video works and everything. It's something we're going to have to maybe check out and actually see if we can compile it and make it play on an emulator. It may have now. Pong is the most simple game in the world, but it may have just done what would have taken somebody potentially days of hand coding and assembly, because assembly is all editing hex values and stuff. It's not in a high level language. It may have done it in about 1 second.
Jesus.
So anyway, sorry, I didn't want to break into there. It's just it's literally a holy shit moment of it. Think about this, Michael. It might in the next few years be able to port Doom to any device you want in about 1 second.
The future is here, and the future is ridiculous.
It's also terrifying. I, for one, welcome the Geth as our friends.
Indeed. All right, so this story, like I said, is a couple of weeks old, but I do think it's worth kind of mentioning simply because of the franchises involved. So this story originally comes from comicbook.com. Chucky creator confirms crossover talks are happening. This was an exclusive story to them. So ever since the days of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and House of Dracula, horror movie characters have been crossing over in some form. The potential hasn't really been explored all that much in recent years, although fans were gifted Aliens vs. Predator, Freddy vs. Jason, Sadako vs. Kayako, the Battle of the Spirits from Ringu, and The Grudge to mixed results. One character that has always felt ripe for a title match is another character from Chucky, and series creator Don Mancini has been vocal about the potential for it. Speaking with comicbook.com in an exclusive interview about the season 2 finale of Chucky's TV series, Mancini confirmed that crossover talks are not just pie in the sky ideas, but something that is actively being considered. Quote, you probably read or heard that I've always wanted to do a Freddy versus Chucky crossover. I think that would be really fun, Mancini confirmed. But we're doing well in this medium at Universal. There are other Universal-owned monsters that could theoretically be at our disposal. So it's something that we do talk about. I'll put it that way. I won't say too much about it, but stay tuned. It's definitely an interest of mine as well. So who might Chucky cross over with if the Universal beasts are at their disposal? Naturally, the entire class of classic monsters seems to be ripe for potential, especially since Universal seems very open to letting the likes of Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and the Mummy be used in a variety of different ways. Universal is also home to the Psycho movie franchise, as well as a big piece of King Kong. Although considering the size of Chucky, perhaps someone smaller is much more likely. Universal is also home to the host of movies produced by Blumhouse, which includes Insidious, The Purge, Happy Death Day. Blumhouse also has the upcoming Megan, a new spin on the killer dolls subgenre, which Chucky has been ruling for 30 years. We asked Don if the potential for that crossover has been considered after the new killer doll movie went viral with its first trailer. He replied, I haven't seen that movie. All I've seen is what everyone else has seen, and that's very fun. I wouldn't be opposed to it. So when I saw this story come out back in November, I created a pitch. So Alex, you are going to be my focus group. So Chucky has his roots in voodoo, specifically with the spirit of Dembala, give me the power, I beg of you. Okay, so Chucky is defeated by somebody, and the movie opens with him being defeated and sent to hell. But before he does, he's seated before Dembala, the god who gives him his powers of resurrection and sends him back to the mortal realm. And he says, Charles Lee Ray, you have failed me for the last time. I cast thee into the pits of hell. Face thy Leviathan. And he gets cast in the hell, and Chucky's like, fuck, what am I gonna do now? And a sinister figure emerges from the shadows, and you hear the rattle of chains. And emerging from the shadows is the new Pinhead. And Pinhead goes, perhaps I could interest you in the order of the Gash and my master Leviathan. And Chucky's like, well, I do like to kill people. So Leviathan, the person who controls all the Cenobites with Pinhead as the Hell Priest, they get sent back to Earth. But Dembala doesn't want to give up his number one killer. So you could bring in characters like Glenn or Glenda and Tiffany and Chucky and Cenobites and Pinhead. So you could bring, like, hell, if the girl who plays Christy Cotton is kind of still doing movies, you could ask her to come back. I know the guy who plays Andy is still doing stuff because he was in season 1. I haven't seen season 2 yet. I'm going to marathon that like this week. There's potential here. Like, just think about Crust, because nobody has touched the Pinhead movies since Hulu did their reboot this year, which, by the way, is fucking awesome, I might add. So what do you think about Pinhead versus Chucky?
Is it weird that I would almost rather see like Chucky versus Demonic Toys?
I think that's too low of a franchise. Like, I think you need an icon. I mean, you can't use Jason or Chucky.
I'd love to see Ash versus Chucky.
I could see that, actually. Because of the Necronomicon, you could very easily tie that to voodoo. And once again, maybe the Necronomicon is just an avatar of Dembala, and instead of resurrecting Chucky into a doll, it brings back Deadites. I could see that.
So you know what I mean? Like, it would be interesting. I'm trying to think. Like, I do like the idea of the mixing. I don't know if it's a perfect match, though.
It's very high concept. It's probably better suited to a comic book, if I had to be real.
Pinhead, I'm trying to think, what would Pinhead be great? Pinhead and
Michael Myers could work really easy because of the whole cult of the Thorn thing. But now that Michael got killed by a garbage compactor, that movie's so fucking dumb. I'm sorry. Fuck that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God. The last 5 minutes, I sat there with the what the fuck hands. And I'm like, this is how it ends? This is how it ends? Okay. So Spoilers. Okay, so after they kill Michael Myers, they chuck him into a garbage container or a garbage compactor like the fucking Shredder, and he gets mutilated into fucking chunks. He gets jibbed. And and then the whole town of Haddonfield is all standing there. Laurie Strode is standing triumphant over Michael, and it goes to credits. So here is my post-credit scene for Halloween Ends. It opens up on Haddonfield. It's an aerial shot. It's dark. There's a pumpkin. And then it cuts to fucking Denny's, and they're all sitting around quietly eating at Denny's. So it mirrors the Avengers shawarma scene, because that is how fucking stupid that movie was. Halloween was great. Halloween Kills, on about the third viewing, it gets okay.
It's what was jarring about it was it went from a 70s movie to being a late 80s movie.
Yeah, like, it's so weird. And when you watch Halloween Ends, one question you're going to be asking, it's very much the Poochie syndrome. And I wish I was kidding.
What about Pinhead versus Phantasm?
Angus Scrimm has passed away. But that being said, the Phantasm series could use a reboot. I do think so. could it work with the tall man and Chucky? That's an interesting parallel. I don't know. I'd have to bake my noodle on that one.
Or can we get Warwick Davis to reprise the Leprechaun in this somehow?
That's always been talked about. I remember very serious conversations happening online like many years ago about the Leprechaun versus Chucky. That could easily work. Like a Wish gone wrong. I could totally see that happening.
I'm trying to think if there's any other like larger franchises that have, similar killers that would work well or have a supernatural aspect or.
Yeah, because it has to be supernatural or something that would work. Like you couldn't do Chucky versus Scream because Chucky's it's always some asshole from wherever the town happens, whatever. I don't know if other franchises that would work well. The Chucky versus Ash thing is interesting, but Bruce Campbell said he's done playing the role. But that doesn't mean you need Ash outside.
He says he's done playing the role. He doesn't want to do the TV show is hard to do. He's 64.
Yeah.
But doing a 90-minute movie where he's not the sole lead is not as hard.
Yeah, and even if he only shows up for the last 15 minutes, yeah, people would still go see it.
If he only has to be on screen 40 minutes of the time and it takes 6 months or 15 or 16 weeks to shoot, that's not hard for him.
Yeah.
What was hard was being in his late 50s and doing like 13 episode seasons where he's in 90% of it doing physical comedy.
Yeah.
That was, and those 3 seasons were glorious. They were really good.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have had a 4th season, but they were on Stars, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's before like the big explosion with every streaming platform,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I'm trying to think. I do you know of any other franchises that have that kind of killer that would work, or that kind of?
I'm thinking back to creature features of the 80s. The only one, it's not well known unless you're a big horror dork. You could maybe use Pumpkinhead, and I say this because of this reason. So Pumpkinhead is a vengeance demon. Like when you summon Pumpkinhead, you summon him with the specific purpose of killing somebody who wronged you. So if Chucky's victims, one of their parents, summoned Pumpkinhead, and it's Chucky literally dodging Pumpkinhead for 90 minutes, you could make that work.
If we're doing demons and stuff, and you don't want to, if you take Chucky out of it,
yeah.
What about the Cenobites versus Candyman?
That would be interesting.
Like they're literally battling over somebody's punishment.
Yeah, like sin. Like, did you see the new Candyman?
Yes, and I saw how it ended, and I went, "Ooh, that's how you." I was like, "That is how you tie it into the franchise."
Yeah, like honestly, folks, if you haven't seen the new Candyman, it is phenomenal, and it was unexpectedly really good. But yeah, like there's so much ripe potential here, and with Chucky, I think it's been picked up for a season 3. I can't see why it wouldn't. I mean, those seasons, like they're less than 10 episodes. The quality is there. The child actors are fantastic. The special effects are next level, and it's something that could work. Actually, I thought of, okay, I've got one. It might work. It's a newer franchise, but it's starting to break out in a really big way. The Terrifier. So if you had Art the Clown versus Chucky, you could make that work.
Is it big enough yet for that?
Here's the thing. Okay, so when Terrifier came out in late October, it premiered on Screambox, which we reviewed it. And it was also in theaters. For one weekend, it was really limited. And then it expanded to like 1,500 screens. And it made $10 million in a weekend. So it's one of the most successful independent horror movies of all time. There is a third movie in development. And actually, this coming weekend at Kevin Smith's Cinema in New Jersey, they're holding a back-to-back viewing of both movies with the cast and crew. So I think the potential's there. So Art the Clown versus Chucky, I could see it because they both have a weird mystical aura. They're both virtually unkillable. David Howard Thornton, the guy who plays Art the Clown, has this amazing physical presence. And mark my words, Alex, I think he will be mentioned in the same breath as Kane Hodder, Robert Englund, Doug Bradley, and Nick Castle. For those of you that don't know, that's Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and Pinhead, because of the physicality that he brings to that role and the emotions that are just seen with his face and his eyes. This could work.
Wow, like that's pretty high praise.
Yeah, like I have never been more impressed with a low budget horror movie.
What about like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Chucky? Would it work because Chucky could do all the talking?
With Leatherface, it would vastly depend on how you set things up, because Leatherface is one of those characters, if you had the right person in the Leatherface mask, it works. I mean, you don't have to have Gunter. In fact, I think he passed away. I don't know. It's a franchise that I've never been huge on. You could make it work because the Netflix one was moderately successful, but it wasn't critically well received. I could see it working. It's just, it would vastly depend on how you make these two titans match up.
All right. Well, you know what? That's my final thing. Fuck it. Let's just put it with a Toxic Avenger.
You know Lloyd to do that all day.
Are you kidding?
In fact,
if you got financing, it's done.
In fact, I would like to see Don Mancini and Lloyd Kaufman team up for something. That would be really interesting. Because Lloyd loves everybody, and Don Mancini is one of the biggest LGBTQ plus creators in horror. Why not? Go for it.
Uncle Lloyd is a New York guy through and through. He doesn't give a shit. You've seen his movies.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's welcome.
Exactly. Like, I think it could work. So,
and everybody's welcome, but you have to be expected to be able to make fun of yourself.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens. I really hope Don Mancini pulls out something awesome. I'm almost positive. I can't wait for Chucky season 3. I'll probably Twitter my reactions to season 2 over the holidays, so keep an eye out for that. So our next story, continuing along with the entertainment beat, because this week is nothing but this, and I'm totally fine with it. Amazon's Fallout series will feature an all-new storyline. This story comes courtesy of superherohype.com. Adaptations can be tricky. On one hand, it's hard for creators to surprise the audience when they're already familiar with the story being told, especially if that story already unfolded in another visual medium. But if any changes are made, they risk alienating longtime fans who might feel the original property is being disrespected. Regardless, the producers behind Amazon's Fallout series are trying their luck with the latter approach. During a recent podcast appearance, Bethesda director Todd Howard confirmed the upcoming show won't adapt a single entry from the original video game franchise. Instead, it will tell an all-new story set in the same universe. Howard previously said that before Amazon came along, Bethesda spent more than 10 years turning down requests from various Hollywood power brokers to adapt Fallout into a movie or a TV series. However, it sounds like those filmmakers were only interested in rehashing stories that already existed. So when the offer expanded to expand the game's lore with a fresh storyline came along, Howard was a lot more receptive. Quote,
well, the smart thing there is, who wants to buy the games when they keep releasing the games over and over again anyway with the same story? If they're going to make a show, it would negate any need for people to buy the games ever again.
Yeah, so
like it's one thing if your game comes out and it's like 20 years and then they want to adapt that 20-year-old story, but this is Bethesda. How many times do they re-release the same games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be very, very detrimental if they just released, hey, here's the story from Fallout 4.
Yeah, so Howard is quoted as saying, when people wanted to make a movie, they wanted to tell the story of Fallout 3 or tell the story of Fallout 4, said Howard. For this, it was, let's do something that exists in the world of Fallout. It's not retelling the game, a game story. It's basically an area of the map. Let's tell a story here that fits in the world we built and doesn't break any of the rules. It can reference things in the game, but isn't a retelling of the games. It exists in the same world, but it's its own unique thing. So it adds to it. While also for those people who haven't played Fallout, who can't experience how crazy cool Fallout is, can watch the series. Last month, Amazon released the first official still image from Fallout, teasing Vault 33, a key location from the original games, plays a major role in the upcoming stories. Whether introducing new characters and story beats will work out in the show's favor remains to be seen. But if it doesn't, Amazon can always apply these lessons to other video game adaptations in the works, such as Horizon and God of War. Amazon still hasn't announced a release date for Fallout. My guess is we'll see it towards the beginning of next year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
If I were to do this, I would set it, honestly, with Fallout, the way that universe works, it doesn't matter when you set it after the bombs drop. Because if you set it early, if you set it during Fallout 76 era, you still have all the cool tech, all the robots are still there, all the weapons are still there. If you set it Fallout 4, you still have the Institute, you have synths, and you have the area known as the Commonwealth. I don't remember where Vault 33 is. But there's a lot of potential here. Honestly, if it's not following a game's storyline, and if they just want to reference things like, oh, there's the Commonwealth, or here's the California New Republic Guard, or there's New Vegas, I'm fine with it. That's great. Do it. Be original. Just set in the world. I'm totally fine with that. I mean, if we've learned anything from this past year, adapting a video game property or trying to stay true to its lore is remarkably hard, if somewhat impossible. The example, it tried to do something different, set in the same world, and it didn't stick the landing outside of a very few rare points, was Halo. Next year, we're having The Last of Us, which we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, and that premieres in January, and it's rejigging some things, but it's not exactly a one-for-one retelling of The Last of Us Part 1. So this Fallout, I think, has the potential to be amazingly good. It's got Amazon money, but we also saw the Rings of Power didn't exactly land the way people wanted to either.
It was so boring.
It's one of those shows that I'm going to wait.
Unbelievably boring.
Mm-hmm. Like, there were people that I watched that they're like, unless you read the Silmarillion, you don't know what the hell's going on. And you had to be really hardcore to get into the Silmarillion.
The costumes were really bad.
Yeah, and that's another
for $1 billion production. Billion. We're talking.
Mm-hmm.
I think they said it was like 40 or 50 million an episode,
something like that.
And
yeah.
over the and the plan is to make multiple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're talking twice the budget of Game of Thrones, and it looked like shit.
And they've already did a major recast of a character, I hear.
And a lot of CG. They didn't build any. Like, how is it that? And then you realize it's the showrunners. The showrunners decided to do everything in CG.
That's
so
unfortunate.
It costs way too much.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing with if you're doing anything medieval or anything in that time period, it has to be practical. It has to be.
And when people are like, oh, how come they didn't just hire the Game of Thrones people to do it? Hey, Game of Thrones people, half of them didn't even show back up when they did House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Which looks lower quality as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, why is that? If you look at the crew, most of the people went over to make The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And other projects for Apple. Like, the Game of Thrones was the peak of like ridiculously high quality fidelity television shows. And then the explosion of all the streaming platforms came up, and all these people split and went to other projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the directors of like that were exclusively HBO directors are now working on things for Paramount and for Apple and for Disney. Like, they're all moving around. So I don't know if we're ever going to get that kind of quality again. So I think people went into that show thinking it was going to be like Game of Thrones
Mm-hmm.
or even better. And then you look at it, there is a harsh drop off of people that watched the first episode
Mm-hmm.
that never completed the season.
Yeah, I'm afraid to see what could happen out of it. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
And Fallout, I think it's got a good team.
Yeah, like, it looks the part. The set photos that have leaked, the few costumes that have leaked, It looks great. It looks
I
exactly what I want it to look like.
I worry about the scope they're going for. If they're gonna, I worry that they're gonna outprice their return.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a point where are they spending so much money they can't possibly make their money back?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you know what they could do as a backup is be like, hey, the show didn't work, but we're going to reuse these assets to make a movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Amazon Prime does some really good shows. I mean, I started watching The Boys during the summer. I haven't finished it. I watched the 2 seasons available of Jack Ryan.
With The Boys, you want one completely out of context scene that I can give you?
Okay.
Okay. Superhero, legendary superhero sex orgy, where their version of Ant-Man does a whole bunch of cocaine, shrinks down, crawls up his lover's penis urethra, and then accidentally sneezes and grows big and explodes him from the penis out.
Oh, geez.
That is 3 seconds of a 1-hour episode.
Yeah, The Boys is interesting, and
it is what if you could do anything in a show.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, Amazon is giving their teams, when warranted, good creative control. Plus, having a power team of like Seth Rogen and his team involved in The Boys works.
It's what Netflix was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, the only Netflix show that's remained consistent is Stranger Things, and even that's had bumpy seasons here and there.
Well, and that's because of the multiple. It stayed consistent because they've taken like 2-year gaps.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the Netflix animation stuff. I mean, I thought Transformers was okay. The He-Man show was all right. It got picked up for second season.
And Cobra Kai is a big hit, but that was a Google show that they just purchased.
Yeah, and it just happened to hit. So
I mean, you know, Amazon is really flip a coin. It's either really good or it's really bad.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a good one, though. I really do. And I am somebody who doesn't care for the actual games, but the lore has always wanted to pull me in.
Yeah.
So maybe this is for me.
I hope so, because like I said, I love Fallout 4. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I didn't like Fallout 76, and I'm not paying for a private world so I can explore the story without being griefed. So we'll have to wait and see. So this is going to be our last story, but we're going to talk about some of the big trailers that have come out this past week, because it's just been a really unexpectedly big week for things. So this story comes courtesy of IGN, and The Last of Us TV series gets a thrilling official trailer that features a terrifying bloater. For those of you that don't know, the bloaters are the big fat guys who are the infected that are literally nothing but the cordyceps virus and a mobile body. So HBO Max's The Last of Us has received its first official trailer and has given us our best look yet at the adaptation of the PlayStation Classic, including looks at many of the characters from the game, plot details, and a terrifying bloater at the end. The trailer is a treat for fans of the original PlayStation game, but it also does a good job of setting up exactly what this new series will be for those who aren't familiar with the source material. There are people on the West Coast, and Bella Ramsey's Ellie somehow didn't turn into a monster when infected, and she may be the key to saving humanity. Pedro Pascal's Joel is tasked with taking her across the country to help find this cure, and this is where our story begins. However, we may be very well be getting flashbacks as well, because we get a glimpse of scenes pulled out of some of The Last of Us behind DLC. As for the bloater, that terrifying enemy is one of the most powerful enemies in the game, and it's one of the most advanced stages of the cordyceps brain infection. It appears at the end of the trailer and hints the journey west won't be an easy one. The trailer follows character posters that give us a great look at the cast of the series, and all of those are helping us prepare for the show to arrive on HBO on January 15th, 2023. Season 1 will consist of 10 episodes and looks to cover mainly the elements of the first game. However, creators have confirmed there'll be certain parts that deviate greatly from what came before. If the wait isn't too long, and then they go into an article about here's our review of the game.
I'm still a little worried that after playing the fantastic, remaster remake, does it need to have a show?
See, I'm in the I'm very much yes, because I think Pedro Pascal will carry the show very much.
I don't doubt the acting and the visuals are going to be great, but the game is essentially playing a movie already.
I guess it comes down to bringing in audiences that wouldn't play the game. For example, would you get my wife to play this? No. But when I've told her about it, she's like, this looks really interesting. And she's seen me after the big emotional scenes. She's like, Mike, are you okay?
It seems like there's 3 types of people that they're making this for. One, if they deviate enough, it'll be for some hardcore / casual fans. 2, they're making it for people that don't play video games and never plan to, but have heard of it. And like 3, they're making it for people that would not play the game, but would sit there and watch their spouse play. Like, I don't see the hardcore fans tuning in past really one episode unless it's really good.
I think it stands the best chance of being adapted well, considering the creative team behind it.
I worry that now that The Walking Dead has ended, like, are they thinking they're going to grab that audience? But that audience is kind of fatigued.
I think they might do it because it's such a different version of the zombie craze, and the fact that The Last of Us is known primarily not just as a zombie game, it's known as a series that deals with very complex emotional issues. And ultimately, when you get into The Last of Us Part 2, it deals with some very serious stuff. And The Last of Us Part 2 takes place years before, or years after, rather, the first game. So there's probably some good stuff.
I'm telling you right now, it's HBO, so I wouldn't put it past them. But there's going to be some hard scenes to watch.
Oh, yeah. Like the scene, I want to know how they're going to adapt it. And Alex, you'll know what I'm talking about.
The dog?
No.
Oh, wait.
The sewer. They didn't suffer.
Okay, that one I think it's going to be in this season.
Oh, for sure.
I thought maybe, and they'll handle the brothers. Okay, I think
that's going to be a big moment for this series.
Yes, for this season. The one that I'm not sure that they're going to keep, I mean, it's HBO. They might keep it, but the one that they're going to be hemming and hawing over whether or not they should keep it is probably
David, maybe right towards the end.
When you're alone in the burning building.
They actually did show scenes from that, because where that knife comes down, that's supposed to be David.
Okay, because of not from the violence, but from the implication
of what he is.
It's not just the what type of people they are, what they do, but specifically what he was planning to do right there.
Yeah.
Is a little, it's a topic that might be a little triggering for people. They're going to have a warning, I think, for this one. And I mean, the whole town is messed and the scenery you see there, but that specific scene is probably the most traumatic, even though it's very quick. It's the most traumatic event in the whole series that sets off what the second game is to be.
Yeah, it changes Ellie in a very dramatic way. So
yeah. Well, we'll see. I think it's HBO. They'll handle it tastefully. I think another network might not even do it.
Yeah, like,
but I do think it's important. So I don't know. They might alter it depending on how they go, but I think it's important to the whole story.
It is, absolutely. So we can look forward to talking about this in January. Like I said, that's when the series begins, and we will definitely be talking about it here on TWIG for sure.
Yeah, I'll list off just a couple random trailers that popped up, and we can talk about, slightly more in depth. But like you said, it was a deluge, a real dump in the last week. So new movie trailers that came out there was the new Super Mario Brothers trailer, the full trailer for that. Cocaine Bear.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Which is a true story.
Yep.
Or based on a true story. Indiana Jones. And The Dial of Destiny, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 trailer 1, Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer dropped. There was a sort of first look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There was what else? I think there was another Dungeons and Dragons look. There was what else? There was a few more, and as well as like TV, like an hour ago, Letterkenny season 11 trailer dropped. And it's just been, and there's a new show on Apple called Shrinking, which is a Harrison Ford TV show. And Harrison Ford's also in the trailer. He's going to be the main character in 1923 on Paramount. Like, it's a lot of stuff in the last like 3 days.
Yeah, it's not quite, hey, here's the end of the financial quarter. This just seems weirdly timed. I mean, it's not like we're going to be seeing these at the Game Awards, although don't be surprised if we see something there.
We will see something at the Game Awards. If I had to guess, related to a Transformers game, if we see a trailer for Transformers during, like if we see a TV teaser, if they're a sponsor of the show, then expect to see a game announcement.
Yeah, or something.
Because it's been what? Like there was that low budget game that was released last year, but that was nothing.
Oh,
like we're talking
Battlegrounds. Yeah, that movie or that game was okay, but it was
a budget title. It wasn't really.
Yeah, it was baby's first XCOM. It was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't a High Moon Studios type of game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I would say the big ones here that I'm just going to briefly touch upon. Cocaine Bear looks ridiculous, and yes, it's theatrical. It's going to be a fun thing. Maybe we'll have to see it together at the end of February. Super Mario Brothers
looks really good.
Personal thoughts? The Mario voice is terrible.
Everything else.
Peach's voice is terrible. Everything else is fantastic.
I don't mind Peach, but I wish it had a little more personality.
Her voice isn't high enough. It's the actress is not even attempting to do anything outside of her own voice, and she's not even famous. Like it's the
girl from
the lady
Borat?
from Queen's Gambit. She was also in The New Mutants. Anna Taylor-Joy or something. She's an okay actress, but like she's not known. Like she's not known for having a unique voice. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't get why she's not doing another voice. I would say Luigi's pretty good.
Charlie Day.
Toad is, I think, Kevin Hart. And
no, it's Jordan Peele, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, it's one of those guys.
Okay, it's one of I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong, but Jack Black is spot on.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Bowser. He's attempting to do a hybrid Bowser and his own voice. So great. I mean, it's fine. I think there's going to be a serious problem with immersion with always hearing Chris Pratt just being Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it's going to be a little weird, but the look of that trailer, the fact that there's Mario Kart references in there's a Smash Brothers reference, there's Mario Galaxy. This looks like it's going to be great.
You know what? If she wasn't voicing Peach, if she was voicing Daisy
or Rosalina,
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
It's just we've heard these voices for 25 years and it's not like a surprise to us. I don't know why why couldn't they have, if you're going to have Chris Pratt play Mario, why don't you have it literally be like he's a human transported to their world? In his head's narration, it's Chris Pratt, but when he opens his mouth and talks, it's Mario's voice.
I don't know.
Would that not have been just easy?
I could see it from a filmmaking standpoint being a little jarring on one level.
The problem is the people making these are like, all people that play games are dumb, so it doesn't matter who we cast. Yeah. That's literally how they're thinking. Indiana Jones, he looks tired.
Yeah.
He looks tired. It looks a lot better than Crystal Skull.
Yeah. When does the movie take
CG.
place though? Like what year?
It looks to be the 60s.
Okay.
It looks to be late 60s if I had to assume.
Okay.
So I think it's taking place 25 years after the last one. So in reality, it's been 35 years or whatever since like. Oh wait.
So
When did
during
the last
Vietnam,
the last one took
in
place
the
during
50s.
what?
In the 50s during the atomic tests.
During Korea and all that. So if I had to guess, I haven't looked at it. If I had to guess, it's taking place
mid 1960s
before the hippie movement, so maybe 65.
and before
maybe,
before Vietnam and before the space race.
Yeah, well, Vietnam was happening, but like, before 60s culture turned into 60s culture. So I think it's taking place 10 years after the last one, which is sort of fitting.
Yeah.
And I'll probably still see it. Transformers, I think it looks okay.
Yeah, Transformers. Okay, so it's a little bit different. So they've been said this is kind of a hard/soft reboot of the franchise. It does take place
after Bumblebee
and after The Last Knight, and this is how I know. So the enemies that they're fighting, Battletrap, Scourge, Nightbird, and I can't remember the name of the other Terracons. They're supposed to be heralds of Unicron. Now, I've gone through this trailer frame by frame, and there's a few other...
So, is the Earth still going to be Unicron?
I would wonder at this point, and...
Because that is so stupid.
I can see it, actually. I can see it fitting with some older Transformers lore. If you're willing to really outstretch your imagination, I can make it work. That being said, there is a not unreasonable chance that Bumblebee may die. Because during that trailer, Scourge has him impaled on a spike, holding him up.
Doesn't Bumblebee turn into something else in the show?
He does turn Goldbug. He does turn into Goldbug, but there's a shot near the end of the trailer where it shows the back of Wheeljack that could conceivably be Bumblebee because of the flared doors, but you see Prime, Jack, you see RC and Mirage walking towards something, and just from the way that shot is composed, that looks like it's likely near the end of the movie. RC looks great, very true.
As far as the G1 look, RC is the closest.
Mirage looks okay. Weird casting on him.
Cheater looks fine.
Yeah, Cheater looks fine. Air Razor looks great. Primal looks great. Ron Perlman as Primal, not bad. Would I have preferred Gary Chalk? Yes. But
Gary Chalk's voice doesn't translate to the modulator they use in the movies.
Yeah.
They scale towards having deeper voices.
There was another person who actually was involved in the original Beast Wars cartoon is a voice in this movie. I think the guy who played Depth Charge plays a character in this movie. He might be Battletrap for all I know.
Was that Depth Charge? Was that Sobolov?
No, I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. It might be.
I think it might be David Sobolov. Depth Charge was the Manta Ray, right?
Yes.
Yeah, then I think it's David Sobolov.
Yeah.
I know one of our fans is going to be like, Alex, you're wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I'm kind of surprised. Some other actors that they could have got for it. Blue Man Kuma played. He was Tigertron, right?
Yeah.
He's got a good voice.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Barnes was Rampage.
Yep. And Inferno, which I would have loved to have seen him as a Terracon. But
was he? Maybe he wasn't Rampage.
I think he was Infernos. I think
he was Inferno for sure.
Yeah, because JT told me that. I'm like, you're telling me the Watcher from Highlander's Inferno?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, holy shit, that just blew my mind.
And what's crazy, he got no legs, right?
Yeah.
I did not know. I thought he just had a limp. I didn't realize that he had two prosthetics.
Yeah. So
in the show, and he's in a lot of other stuff too. A lot of voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you know what? If it's Sobolov, I can see that. There's other voice actors that RC. Do you know who's playing RC?
I don't know. I'm sad it's not Sue Blue, but I'm okay with that.
She might. I don't want to be ageist, but she might sound too old now.
That's quite possible. I mean,
because she's like around my mom's age. I think she's like got to be in her mid to late 60s, right? If not older.
Probably older, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, it looks cool.
There's and RC's voice is not generic enough, but like there's a lot of Hollywood actresses that could pull that voice off, especially with the modulation. I do think you're right. Ron Perlman was inspired casting.
Yeah, and Air Razor is Michelle Yeoh. Cool. I'm in for
Okay,
that.
you know what? Yeah, I'm down. Is Black Arachne in it?
Not that I recall.
Because you know who would be perfect?
Who?
Lucy Liu.
I could see that actually. That'd be pretty cool actually.
She like sort of or you know who else?
Who?
Angelina Jolie.
I could see that.
I don't know why. I just thought of it. Like just so I mean that's cool. I'm trying to think.
Pete Davidson is the voice of Mirage, which is a little strange, I'm going to admit. But you know what? I liked him in Suicide Squad for the 5 minutes he was in it. He's funny on Saturday Night Live, so why not?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I want to see more of what the story's about, but overall, I think that's a pretty solid trailer. A lot better than what I was expecting.
Yeah. Guardians. Okay, it's been a while in my brain, but how is that Gamora from
the other timeline?
A different timeline?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that came with Thanos from the 2014 timeline.
Okay, so they ripped her out of that. Okay, so that's how they're explaining it, because it looks like she's not in half of the movie.
Yeah, that's my guess.
The way the trailer looks, it looks like she's either only in the first half or only in the second half. Probably the second half.
Probably. They also showed off Adam Warlock, which is great. They showed off
and he's actually a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see why am I drawing a blank on the name? But it was the show, the miniseries on the opioid epidemic. I'm drawing a blank on it, but Michael Keaton played.
Yeah, drug sick or dope sick or something, right?
Dope sick. That's it.
Yeah.
He plays the rep who ends up becoming the sales rep.
Yeah.
Who becomes the whistleblower in real life.
Oh, okay.
And he's actually a really good, like he's a kid actor. He did a few things. He's actually quite good. So I could see him, doing a pretty good job in this. And Dope Sick, if you haven't watched it,
it's really good.
It's one of those important, like it is a true story. Like 99% of it is what really happened. It's important to watch to show, and not like, oh, big pharma is evil. Yeah, of course it is. But to watch how much even the doctors were getting addicted to it. So it's good. But anyway, yeah, I think that looks good. I don't know about, I think it's going to be good, but do you think there's going to be backlash on Pratt for playing Mario going into this?
I don't think so, because Marvel fans like him as Star-Lord. They don't like him as anything else, but they like him as Star-Lord.
Do you think it might not get the casuals because people were mad?
You know why they're going to get the casuals? Because of James Gunn, because it's his last Marvel movie.
And because Drax was so good in the holiday special.
Yeah, and the fact that they're evolving the MCU's cosmic lore even further, I can only imagine what the post-credit scene is for this movie, because I imagine Kevin probably said to James, "It's your last hurrah, go out on a high note, and we'll figure it out."
I seriously doubt he said that. They're petty as fuck. He won't be allowed to even promote this movie because he's working as the CEO of their rival.
There have been interviews where he is allowed to promote it. I have seen direct quotes.
Right now, he starts in his new position full time in like January, so don't expect him to be doing the press junkets.
I don't know. I'm gonna say wait and see on that one. But I think
it's not going to be what he wants. It's what does Big Daddy Discovery want to do? The people that are petty.
Yes.
And
Zaslav sucks.
This is not Warner. This is not Time Warner. This is not AOL Time Warner. This is Discovery ridiculousness in charge now, right?
Yeah.
So yes, they put him in charge. They're also very petty and shrewd. So I don't know if they're going to allow him to do what, he might have been promised he could do.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, I mean, honestly, seeing the High Evolutionary was really cool. I'm looking forward to that. He always was one of my favorites pseudo bad guys from the Marvel canon lore. So I'm interested to see where this happens. It's funny. Conceptually, I like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I do. The movies, I didn't much care for the first one. I like the second one. I hope this one's going to be great. The casting for these movies has been amazingly good. The holiday special, I think, really cemented that as well.
The biggest mistake they made with the holiday special was giving us a trailer where it revealed the big surprise.
Yeah, that was somebody at marketing flipped the switch at the wrong time.
Had they not done any trailer except saying you have to watch to see what happens, it would have exploded the internet.
Yeah.
It within the first hour of the episode being up, the big reveal that Kevin Bacon is in it as himself, being the first real life celebrity playing themselves in the MCU. It would have broken the net like Baby Yoda did.
Yeah.
Remember, and I'm saying Baby Yoda because we didn't know it was Grogu. Remember the first episode where it was revealed to be a Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
And nobody knew that it was the number one trending thing on Reddit for 48 hours.
Yeah.
That would have happened if they didn't just drop a trailer on 100 sites.
Yeah. So it's been a good week. I think we have a lot of stuff to really look forward to in 2023.
Also, Stallone is going to be in it with a major supporting role.
Yeah, he's playing still the big Ravager dude who taught Yondu everything. So it'll be good.
Yeah, I don't know if the rest of his team, because it was Michelle Yeoh and somebody else supposed to be with him, I think, in those closing scenes, right? That he was in.
Yeah.
In the but I guess, I mean, he's going to be in this, and he's going to be in, playing King Shark in DC. So
yeah, so it's going to be it's a good time to be a bit of a geek and nerd right now. 2023 looks like it's going to be an amazingly strong year. So hopefully that trend will continue, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's going to do it for us here on ThisWeekInGeek.net's Nerd News for the year. Like I said, this part of the show will be coming back in January on the third Monday of that month. So like I said, we'll keep you entertained until then, but we're going to take a small break, and Alex is going to take a look at something that he got for review. And I believe this is a new piece of wearable tech.
Yes, that's right. It's the brand new Fitbit Sense 2.
All right. So we will be taking a look at all that and more right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. So you're going to hear Alex right next. And then after that, the final weird news of the year. We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Just in time for the Christmas and holiday season, our friends over at Fitbit sent the Sense 2 smartwatch fitness tracker, all-around health tracker for me to check out. Now, I believe it was a year ago, maybe a little longer ago, we did check out the previous generation's Versa. And this is sort of the one tier up from that in the features that it has. At first glance, it's very similar in aesthetic style. It's a little lighter. It's thinner than the previous generation's watches. And overall, that gives a better impression, because one thing that I found with the previous watch I had is my wrists would get rather sweaty with it on. And I have large wrists as it is, so I actually have to replace the band with the larger band that it comes with, which is actually pretty easy to do. It comes with the sort of standard size wrist one, and then inside of the box it also has a larger one for those of us that have large gorilla wrists like I do. And that is honestly super easy to install. You basically press a button that releases the latch, it pops off, you pop the other one on, you strap it on, and I still have to have it on the largest or widest setting. But this time, even though it sits fairly snug, it's not heavy enough to be putting a lot of pressure on my wrist that would cut off airflow, thus trapping sweat or moisture underneath it. So I'm finding it to be a little more enjoyable to wear. at least for me. You know, if you're somebody who has large wrists, that might be the case as well. Now, this also has, you know, a slew of features. One of the things that was added in the last generation was sleep monitoring. And this time, what we have is, you know, all day, what would they call all day body response tracking, which is for sleep and stress. It has more advanced, you know, updates to the sleep monitoring. It also has the stress management thing is interesting because that is something that I hadn't seen before in these sorts of devices. The sleep tracking seems to have been updated a fair bit. Seems a little more accurate than in the past. But also, it has the blood oxygen tracking, which was in the previous generation. But again, it's been a newer iteration of that. Also, what's interesting here is irregular heart rhythm notifications, as well as ECG app. Now, this is only available in select countries, so not everywhere is going to have it. I've gone and enabled every feature that I can that's available in Canada, which is pretty much everything. It also has high and low heart rate notifications where it can vibrate or give you a sound or a beep that will let you know. Skin temperature sensor, breathing rate. It's got all this fancy stuff, and the operating system is pretty similar, if not identical, to the last generation's versions. It's just, you know, a little more, a little faster, a little slimmer, really good build quality. And I think the screen, you know, to my eye is a little better. It's a very vibrant, high contrast screen that you can read in pretty much any light. And I'm pretty happy with that. Now, as far as, you know, battery life, the battery life's been improved a little bit from the previous generation. Now, as far as, you know, how long does it take to drain? You might go, you can get several days, definitely. It's all going to depend on how much you're using it. Like I've turned off a lot of the notifications for, you know, getting, you know, are you walking? Are you doing your steps and all this? Because on days where it's snowy and I'm not going out, I'm not going to do that. And every hour I don't want it giving me a notification saying exercise. But it is good to sometimes turn on for like stretch breaks and stuff if you're not going out. Now, as far as how fast it charges versus how much time you get, 12 minutes of charge will give you an all-day battery. So that's pretty darn good. Like if you forget, you know, you leave it on and it gets so low that you forget to charge it and you have to go out in the morning, in the time it takes you to take a shower, you know, comb your hair, get some clothes on, you could have it charged enough that you could take it to work or take it on the go for the whole day without having any troubles. And that's pretty good. It is pretty high quality in design. Like you're looking at, you know, about, depending on your country, you're looking at somewhere in the realm of $200 to $300 or so MSRP, if it's on, depending on if it's on sale or not. That's a good chunk of change to put down, so you want to make sure that it's actually a pretty good quality, and it is. I would say all the little apps that are in there, like the stress, sleep tracking, the app has been updated on your phone so that it's much more responsive. Most of the health features are useful. There's some stuff and more advanced things that are tied behind the Fitbit premium subscription. You do get several months for free when you get the device, so you can test it out if you want. So that's cool. I'm personally probably not going to use it, but it does have some interesting features that are in there. Now, there isn't Google Wallet or Maps support built in yet, and the heart rate sensor seems to be a little slower to respond and update than I would have maybe hoped for comparatively to the rest of the features, but it is a really big step in the right direction. And Fitbit is, you know, a company that's owned by Google now, and they're slowly but surely integrating the tech into there. And you can see with over multiple years of iterations, it's becoming more and more premium in feel while not really increasing the price. So you're getting a pretty good value for this. If you're looking for a good smartwatch, specifically for Android, that is, you know, going to give you a similar experience to something that you might get on iOS with, you know, Apple's It's not the exact same device, but this is a pretty premium device as far as all the tracking and the watch faces and everything, and the feel and the build quality on Android. It's probably the best you're going to get at this price point before you end up jumping into those premium, crazy, diminishing returns luxury watches. So it's pretty good. It's not going to completely break the bank if you're looking for like a really good gift to give somebody who has been interested in getting a fitness watch or a smartwatch, but it hadn't dipped into it just yet. You're looking to fill the void for Christmas. Maybe you get a joint gift. It's something to consider. I think it's pretty good.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
All right, guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. Big thanks to Alex for taking a look at the latest piece of Fitbit technology. All right, guys, so it's time to talk about the final bits of weirdness that happened around this plane of existence we call Earth, the big blue marble. Some of us call it home. And this story, again, it's a couple of weeks old, but my friend Liam sent it to us, and it's just so unbelievably Ocean's 11. I think it's really, really, really cool, considering this is not the first high-profile theft we've covered on this show. So this story comes out of DW.com. Celtic gold coins worth millions stolen from German museum. Staff at the museum in Manching, a town in Bavaria, discovered a display case broken. Authorities said a daring heist occurred during the early morning hours of Tuesday. This story was posted on November 22nd. So employees at the Roman Celtic Museum in the Bavarian town of Manching discovered 450 Celtic coins valued at several million euros was apparently looted from a display case early Tuesday morning. Local police said that, quote, a showcase was broken, although investigators provided scant additional hints as to whom or what might have been behind the alleged heist, told the AFP news agency reported. The coins were the showpiece of the museum. Specialists from Bavaria's state criminal police are investigating. Quote, the loss of the Celtic treasure is a disaster, said Bavaria's Minister of Science and Arts, Marcus Blum. As a testament to our history, the gold coins are irreplaceable. Authorities were quick to note that there had been a disruption to phone and internet service at the time. Mayor Herbert Nerb told the German newspaper, I can't even begin to pronounce this, quote, they cut off the internet to the whole of Manching. The museum is actually a high security location, but all the connections to the police were severed, he added. Nerb said the looting of the 450 gold coins is, quote, a complete catastrophe for his town. The coins were discovered in 1999, but date back to 3rd century BC. The robbery is the latest in a series of high-profile heists in Germany of their museum. Dresden's Royal Palace was hit by thieves in 2019 who staged a bold nighttime raid on the Green Vault Museum. That heist was worth at least $117 million at the time of the theft. That's some
well-known. Stealing a bunch of, I don't know what you're going to do with a bunch of ancient like Celtic gold. If like
there'll be some crazy lunatic collector.
How
would you move that? Black market. You'd have to.
It's like gold doubloons. Like at least with like Spanish gold that's like from pirates marooned off of the coast. If it's in international waters,
salvage rights.
It's salvage rights, and then you'd probably not likely sell it for the actual value. You might get pennies on the dollar but some museum would, like, if you got $100 million worth of gold coins, a museum would probably still give you 5 or 10 million because you can't really use it. You can't even fence that kind of stuff.
It's going to go to some high profile nut job who's got a lot of money, or they're going to melt them down.
It's going to end up in the Saudi prince's home. You know it.
It's going to end up somewhere either with a drug lord, the Middle East, or somebody who owns a major corporation who keeps a lot of their private life off the books.
Let's be honest. There isn't anybody, anybody in the UK, the British Isles, in Wales, in Wales, in Scotland, in Ireland, that has the kind of money to buy that and would want that just for the coins. This is like drug money or dictatorship written all over it.
Yeah, like it's so weirdly specific too.
Like, unless you were somebody who was a horrific thief where your plans are to melt it down into gold bars, which is horrendous because that ruins history.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that and then use it to money launder.
Yeah. But still, that's fucked up. So, anyway, so that's the fact that they cut off the internet to the entire town. Like,
that means they knew where the backbone was.
Yeah, like this was not just a couple of guys randomly. They knew there was something valuable. They had a plan.
They didn't go to the fiber box next to the building, cut off the street. They cut off
the hub.
That was a coordinated attack against the infrastructure of the city.
And that could have had catastrophic results in like other ways, like emergency services could have been affected and everything else.
99% of hospitals have cellular internet backup, but only for critical things.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every device that requires the internet there will have it'll record things locally, but a lot of them now use tablets that are connected through Wi-Fi to get updates on all the patients in every room. That would go down.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So this next story.
And the trains.
Yep.
A lot of the train departure times are no longer tied to like them getting a phone call. We're so and so, or even GPS. They're tied to GPS location that then sends via Wi-Fi or cellular network to the screen. So it could mess up a lot of things.
Yeah, like this is some Ocean's 11 type shit. So I'd be very interested if this ever gets covered again.
The only difference is in Ocean's 11, they would cut off the internet for 1 second and reroute it to a different backbone that is not, so that it looks like it's connected, but it's actually not. You wouldn't even know they were there.
Yeah. So, yeah. So this story, because Alex, comes courtesy of ArsTechnica.com. Prescription poop is here. FDA approved fecal slurry.
You're welcome, everybody. Good night. We're done. That's all we had to say, right?
The FDA has approved a fecal slurry for unshakable diarrhea. It's a win for
fecal slurry, the name of my next punk band.
I like it. With what did we call ourselves? Plutonium Sluts or something. We had some stupid name album.
I did not come up with that. You came up with that in your castle there with all your friends, and you sent me a message and you're like, we're starting up. You were like super duper ridiculously high, and you're like, we're starting a punk band and it's called like
Plutonium Sluts. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
And our first album is Wrinkled Testicles of Your Grandpa or something.
It was the pants to shit ratio.
Oh, pants to shit ratio. That's right. That's right. That was our prog rock album.
Yep. And then we only visited unusual towns like Kalamazoo, Washington, Vulcan, Alberta, Sheboygan.
You're not playing Toronto, but you are going to play Kingston for some reason.
Yep. And we will play London, Ontario.
No, you won't play. It was. You're not going to play London. You're going to play Welland.
Welland.
You're like, why? And it was like, instead of going to Sault Ste. Marie, you're going to go to like North Bay, and it's like, are you going to play like Winnipeg? No, we're going to play a town with 50 people a couple hundred kilometers away.
We had a whole band lore. I was starting to make up T-shirts and shit.
I distinctly remember you saying, because Greyhound's gone, but that the idea was the band would play at every stop the Greyhound used to go to when you would go out west, when you did the milk run like you did.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So it's like, where are you going to play? We're going to play on the rural road sign where the Greyhound stops.
We are going to play just outside of Winnipeg, motherfuckers. It would have been awesome. So
where are you playing? I don't know. Wherever they'll give us free food. So basically we're just going to play out in like Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, because if we're lucky and we're good, every house will just open up their home to us.
So this story says it's a win for those with C. diff and a milestone for microbiome-based therapies. For the first time, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has granted approval for a fecal-based microbial treatment, which is used to prevent reoccurring diarrhea infection and that can become life-threatening. This approval, announced Wednesday, is years in the making. Researchers have strained to harness the protective qualities of the complex, diverse, yet variable microbial communities found in healthy people's intestines and stool. Early on, rich fecal matter proved useful for restoring balance and blocking infection in those whose microbiomes had been disturbed. A state called cryobiosis, which can occur from disease and or the use of antibiotic drugs. But our understanding of what makes a microbiome healthy and functional and protective remains incomplete. Doctors, meanwhile, pushed ahead, informally trying an array of methods to transplant fecal microbes from healthy donors to the guts of patients via enemas, tubes through the nose, and oral pooped capsules. Gross.
Wait. Tubes through the nose that have poop in it?
Yeah, and I can see how that could work, actually, because it would go I could see how that could work. I really could.
Poop Nose, the name of our second album.
That's right. And of course, if you come to our shows, you will get free tickets for the rest of the tour if you're willing to take an oral poop capsule.
So what are our fans called? Turds?
Yes. And our big fest is called Turd or Treasure. See?
Or no, wait. So our children's fan club, are they just called Nuggets?
Yes.
Turd Nuggets?
Shipiblets.
Shiblets.
So anyway,
how are all my shiplets out there? And all these little kids screaming, and we're like, all right, we're gonna sing some Raffi covers.
That's right, with kazoos. All right. So fecal sorry.
You don't have to read more about, honestly, this story. We can skip to the next one if you want. The basic story is that South Park episode is now real.
Well, here's the weird thing. So I'm kind of reading through this. Evidently, this treatment can treat everything from obesity to irritable bowel to mixed success. And it's interesting because my microphone is falling over. But this can prevent the most reoccurrent disease called C. difficile, or just called C. diff. Now, I've actually heard of this because when I was in the hospital, I remember hearing this term a lot. Somebody had this in the ward that I was in. So what this C. diff it's a bacteria that causes diarrhea and significant inflammation of the colon. Severe infections can be life-threatening in people with this dysbiosis. C. diff can proliferate in the intestines, producing toxins that can lead to organ failure. Older people, those that are hospitalized, people with weakened immune systems are particularly susceptible to C. diff.
People with diverticulitis can get it too.
Yeah, and this disease is responsible for up to 30,000 deaths per year in the U.S. alone. So this is interesting. I mean, just the fact that this is FDA approved, it means it's gone through all sorts of testing. It's ready for prime time. So this is really, really good news from a really unusual source.
Yeah, like the idea, and actually, you know what's weird? And obviously, your diet choices are completely your own. But I saw a bunch of articles on this. Studies are showing that people, in some cases, I'm going to cover my ass here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some cases, people that are militantly vegan from the time that they're born, like people who are vegan and then raise their kids to be vegan, sometimes have problems with their gut biome.
Yes,
because they don't eat the red meat or meat in general, meat, cheese, byproducts that actually help build up the healthy bacteria.
Yeah.
So they're more susceptible to getting sick in school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not from eating the food, but from just other kids that are immune to certain things.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I had my problem with my liver last year, it's because I lost a lot of weight really quickly because I lost 80 pounds in 2 months. And I started to develop gallstones. We thought it was an irritable bowel thing at one point. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff here.
The study was basically showing that sometimes those kids are having to have the transplant, and it brought up ethical questions. It's like, well, if the parents and people don't want any animal byproducts in them, and the healthy gut biome bacteria only comes from developing immunities to eating
Certain
bacteria
things.
that's in meat, is it ethical to do the transplant?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the idea is, the ethics behind it are, well, if it's going to save a child's life, you should do it.
Yeah.
But it also brings up the question, it's like should that be covered by medical insurance if you've had the conscious choice to never ever build up the natural immunity because you refuse to? So there's things there too, but it is cool. But literally what it breaks down to is, some people have the perfect balance of foods that they've eaten in their life mixed with their own with their own antibodies, and the idea is they have that perfect cocktail of probiotics and prebiotics and gut biome, and they're like, my shit is literally better than your shit, and you should have some.
Oh dear. All right, so this last story of the year, I think, is particularly apt for considering some of the weird things we talked about last time we did a live show, where you don't buy owls from strange people on meth at gas stations. So this story comes from sfgate.com. A Thai Buddhist temple was left empty after all its monks test positive for meth. A small Buddhist temple in northern Thailand.
Like, that is so anti-Zen.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's not going to help you reach enlightenment. So a small...
It's going to help you stay up for like 6 days without taking a poop, so you can sit there and try to meditate, but you won't hit nirvana that way.
A small Buddhist temple in northern Thailand has been left without monks after the entire monastery is found to have been using methamphetamine, according to local officials. Following orders to investigate drug use in... I can't pronounce this.
I love it. I this. You know what, Michael? You make my day, because those names are ridiculous.
I think it's pronounced Fuchekbun Province.
First of all, read who the article was written by. Try to.
Wiawan Wachakowska and Brian Peach or something.
Yeah, but yeah, it's we're not trying to butcher the name. It is a hard one to read. It's Willawan Wacharak Wedge.
If I could be gifted any minor superpower, instant understanding of linguistics and pronunciation.
So the province is
I would say
Phetchabun.
Yeah. So
Phetchabun and Bung Samthon.
Yeah. So this is a place that is 150 miles north of Bangkok. It's like poked around schools, factories, and temples in search of drug addicts and dealers so they could be sent for, kind of rehab. So, quote, as a community leader, I was frightened because I never thought the monks could be addicted to drugs, said Sungyut Naburi, the village headsman. I never thought drugs would spread to temples. Monks are revered figures in Thai culture. In Bangkok's metro system, seats are reserved for them along pregnant and elderly individuals. Particularly in rural areas outside of Bangkok, monks are trusted advisors, often serving as counselors and role models to the community. So it was much to Sungyut's surprise that all 4 monks in one small temple tested positive for methamphetamine use, that when he and the sheriff paid a visit to the monastery on Friday, at another temple, 2 monks also tested positive, he said. But the writing was on the wall. The monks' personality and behavior gave them away as drug users. Sungyut said some villagers had tipped him off, telling him to check temples in the community. Even the abbot, the head of the monastery, who served as a monk for 10 years, was found to be using drugs. When I suspected the abbot's shelter, I was stunned to find that it was a mess, Sungyut said. After the drug test came back positive, he said the monk confessed to using drugs. Some of them admitted to being longtime addicts. And then it goes on how this was like a huge scandal.
See, the problem there is, if the head monk gets addicted, then it trickles down.
Yeah, and this is something that I'm actually kind of starting to get involved with now. I'm a very big believer in harm reduction in education, and drugs are a problem. And
like we have in Kitchener. I know Guelph, and there's places where you have like methadone clinics, right? But I believe Kitchener is one of the first places in Ontario, one of the first communities to it was highly debated over the last years, but we have a safe injection site here now.
Yep. We had one in my old hometown of Owen Sound.
We had never had one before. Well, Owen Sound was like a capital for a lot of drugs for a while.
Yeah, like it's a problem with like meth and fentanyl and stuff like that.
I'm not trying to laugh, but like when I heard it, it didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Saying it because it was very needed there.
Yeah.
Here it's been on the rise, and the idea was, you can't stop everybody forever, and you can't stop people by shaming them.
So you might as well try and make them safe.
Or by criminalizing them. All you can do is try to help by, giving them the options. Here's the pamphlets. Here's the help you need. We will not judge you. You can use here. Here are the fresh needles. Here are the fresh things. Here, it's safe. You aren't going to get mugged and hurt. You're not going to get an infection from us or from doing your stuff here. Please just check in with us. Let us know that you're okay. We'll get you connections. That's really all you can do, because you can't force people, even though
you want to.
I for other local things, I think Cambridge's new mayor wants to change the Ontario criminal code. It's in the news right now to make it so that the courts can force people into rehab being committed into buildings. Because now the logic behind it is not necessarily bad, saying that right now the criminal courts can suggest rehab but can't force it, meaning it, and not only costs taxpayers money, but 9 times out of 10 they end up being put back in jail again. The whole process doesn't do anybody any good. But I don't like the idea of being told, not only do you have to go to rehab, like it's being court mandated, it's they will physically take you, and not let you leave, is what they're trying to say. Like they're trying to commit you.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe in extreme cases, like maybe I think if you're a minor, like if you're underage, if you're, let's say, a street kid, or you're a minor who has repeat problems, and you're addicted to a very heavy substance, and your parents aren't giving you the supporting home you need, I can see a minor being put into a detox center and getting help, as long as it's caring and done right. Adults that don't have any mental illness that prevents them from making their own decisions, I don't know how that's going to work. I'm only bringing this up because it's in the news like this week.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to push for. And I'm like, no, we just made the progress by having the safe injection sites. I don't think, and you know what the biggest topic of safe injection was? The big argument amongst all the city councilors? We don't want it in any of our neighborhoods where there's people living.
Yeah, that's always the big argument.
And
it's
quote,
like, not in our backyard.
It's like where they want it. They want you to put it in the dangerous spot, or that is not easy to get to, or they're like, put it downtown, and then the businesses downtown are like, we don't want it beside our businesses. And it's like, well, where do you put it? They already don't want to put them in hospitals, because a lot of these people are afraid to go to the hospital because they think they're going to get locked up.
Yeah, like, I mean, as much as we cover this as a weird story, because the headline itself is a little strange.
Yeah, the headline is weird. The weirdness aspect of it is rare for this to happen to Buddhists in general, like monks and like the fact that it was the entire, like it's only 4 people, but it's the whole monastery. It's strange. You generally don't hear things like Catholic Church shut down for every priest being on meth.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if I had to give any message from this story, it would be learn about what's going on in your community, and if there's somebody in your life suffering from substance abuse, listen. And be compassionate.
You can't force them to change. It doesn't mean enable it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean give them money to do drugs and give them a place to do it in your home. But it also doesn't mean cutting them off completely unless they're really wronging you.
Yeah.
Like if they're a danger to you or people around you because of their addiction, or if they're like stealing from you and all this stuff, then you have to cut them out.
Yeah.
Because you cannot change somebody's mind. You cannot force somebody to change, no matter what you think.
Yeah, like all you can really do is ask. And like I said, because I'm a big believer in harm reduction, conversations matter. And being that maybe they just need somebody to listen to, but obviously it's that time of the year. I encourage you to learn about these sort of things. If you are affected by this, there are community resources to find. And if you ever truly need help finding some of these resources, there are people in your community who can and will help you. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, and hopefully this can happen. Hopefully there's some resources for these people in Thailand.
Yeah.
And the weirdest part to me is that it was meth. Like, I could completely understand if it was like mushrooms or like LSD or something, where it's like we're finding nirvana in our, in our third eye. Like if it was very like inner stuff, not something that's speed.
Yeah.
Like that speed is not a monk thing in my mind.
Yeah. It doesn't exactly, as you said, doesn't exactly lead to nirvana. Because
you know what I mean? Like if you read something, it's like whole monastery busted for drugs. What's the first thing that would come to mind? Not even marijuana. It would literally be a psychedelic.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, it's not harming anybody. It's a psychedelic, it's illegal or whatever. Like you'd think it was like, yeah, you'd think it was LSD, or you'd think it was some sort of mushroom that they were doing. It's like, oh, why? Opening their third eye and finding nirvana. But no, it's literally like, it's like junk meth. And it's like, no.
Exactly. So anyway, that's how we're going to close off the weird news for this year. So if any of our stories have made you laugh, think, or chuckle, that's why we are here. So we're going to take a break here on This Week in Geek. And one of my final reviews of this year is something that got sent to me, and I didn't quite know what to think about it until I realized I kind of need this in my life. So we're going to be looking at the Tineco Pure One Mini S4 handheld vacuum. I got this thing in white. So we're going to be talking about just how useful it is and how it's good for when you have small kittens. So we will be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net to close out the show, to wish you a happy holiday and give you some programming notes over the next couple of weeks. Hey, guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about something that I was originally going to include in our holiday gift guide, but I want to include it in our last main show of the year because this has proved to be incredibly useful. So I'm going to be talking about the Tineco Pure One Mini S4 handheld vacuum. I got this thing in the white color. This thing retails for about $199.99. You can get it on bestbuy.ca right now. So I just got two little kittens in my life, Beaker and Dutch. They are rag dolls, which means these are hairy little guys. So picking up kitten hair is going to be a new occurrence in my life. This is what I signed up for. I am a cat dad. So we've been using this thing on and off for about a week or so, and it has proved to be tremendously useful. We also have another cat in the house, a domestic short hair named Ayla, and it's been tremendously useful for that as well. So what this thing is, it's a small handheld vacuum, not unlike the Dust Buster of old, but it's really small and tremendously useful. Because one of the things that I do is I always get popcorn whenever I go down to the Guelph Storm games. And because I am a inept child, more often than not, I spill some at some point during my life, and usually Blair cleans it up. Well, that just became my duty, and I now clean up my own messes. So this thing has amazing suction power. It was able to clean up all of the little kernels, all those little tiny pieces that you really shouldn't eat, but you usually end up doing anyway. But the only thing it didn't really work is it got stuck on some of the bigger popcorn kernels. That's the kind to be expected. That's kind of what it is. Now, another thing that we did with this thing over the course of the last week is, we decided to detail our car just because we do a lot of driving, which means there's a lot of mess in it. Some stuff gets stuck in the back seat, some stuff gets stuck on the back floorboards, and some stuff just gets stuck in the console and everywhere else. So we were able to use this for detailing our car. This was amazingly useful, and just being able to clean up my workspace inside, it's really nice too. Everything is nice. It's neat. I don't have any little fuzz balls or little clingies kind of hanging around. I found it tremendously useful. Now, if I did have to say anything negative about this, $200, that's really steep. But I do see a lot of value in this just for the pure versatility of the Tineco Pure One Mini S4 handheld vacuum. It's really useful. It is portable. It charges super quick, and the suction power for what you're paying is pretty good. I mean, is this thing a shop vac? No, it's not designed for that. But what you're getting is a really powerful handheld unit that can take care of most household everyday messes, and honestly, you are not going to go wrong with it. So can I recommend this? Yes. If you're a pet owner, absolutely. It does pick up hair in a wonderful way. It does de-hair clothes pretty easy. It cleans up popcorn, trust me, I know, and it is pretty nice in your car. Maybe I'll find a way to use this on my wheelchair in some way. So anyway, guys, if you want to pick this up, like I said, we found this thing at Best Buy. It retails for $199.99. That is the Tineco Pure One Mini S4 handheld vacuum. And with that, I throw it back to the rest of us here at ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
All right, guys. Well, welcome back to This Week in Geek for the final show of the year. And I actually just want to send a huge shout out to someone. So this afternoon, when I was in GameStop Canada, I was going.
I refuse to call it that. It is Electronics Boutique forever.
So I was talking to somebody. I was giving them my Edge card, and they're like, "Wait, are you the Mike?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, are you Birdman?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, my friend loves your shit." He's like, he watches your videos on YouTube and TikTok and your podcasts and everything. And I was genuinely surprised to hear about local fans today. That was really, really, really kind of heartwarming. And 2022 has been an incredibly challenging year for me personally, as I was off the show for several months having my bariatric surgery, and then just going through everything that's happened in the last couple of months, and even last week losing Dr. Wily. I've really gotten some amazing support from everybody on social media, be it TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I just really want to send a sincere and honest thank you to everybody who's joined us since 2007. And without people like Ken and JT, Aaron and Darlene, and anybody else we've had a chance to work with over the course of this year, you guys really do make this podcast fun to keep doing for this long. I mean, I know me and Alex have talked about it. We're pretty sure we're the longest running continuing podcast in Canada.
I think there might be some that have been a little longer. Maybe, I'm not sure how many professional ones. And to give an idea, I think we have the most episodes.
Oh wow!
Because let me see here. Because now there's some that are lost, and we're in a weird space where we have multiple shows under the one banner, but it's still all us, right? Yeah. As one thing. We have including a few joint collaborations and everything, and even missing, there's a few years that are missing, I think, of certain clips that we didn't get backed up, right? Early stuff. Mm-hmm. By the time Christmas passes, we will have 940 episodes hosted on our podcast stream, through Spreaker, and that you can access, on our website, everywhere. Literally over 900 episodes in 15 years.
Yeah, and that takes us. How far back does that take us? Let
me see here, because it's broken up by seasons, and I spent a long time trying to sort that when we moved over to having the hosted here. Mm-hmm. Let me see here. It is technically, I have stuff going back to, wow, how far back can I go? That's a good question, Michael. How far back does it have? Let's sort by oldest to newest. Oh no, I don't want to do that. That's gonna change the order of everything. Whoops! Alex almost broke the stream for a second there. Let me see here. If I type in one, have stuff going back to the very first. I think I have the PodCamp stuff from 2007.
So That's thousands of hours of content.
Well, yeah, at 937 episodes, you figure some of them were shorter, some of them were longer. Figure on an
hour and a half average.
It's about between 10 and 15,000 between 900 episodes 10,000 hours?
Yeah.
No, wait. Is that right? Let me see here. 1 second. I'm going to do some quick math because my brain's.
Yeah.
So let's go with 937 times 60. Wait. 60 minutes. 60 minutes time divided by 60. 37. I would say about it's about 2,000 hours. Is probably the average.
Wow.
So 2,000 hours divided by, it's about 83 days of straight podcasts.
Wow.
24/7. So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
In the last 15 years, we are gonna, like, there are some parts that have, if you include the missing episodes, we're probably over it, but we will officially, we did like the thousands episode thing last year, but that was when we had stuff that's not hosted anymore. As far as what's being hosted, we'll pass easily the 1,000 episode mark.
Probably by March.
Yeah.
Because
speaking of, I know some shows are on like a semi hiatus right now. Sunday Funnies has been hard to try to schedule, right?
Yeah.
As well as Loose Cannon and Future Imperfect. But I can say this: I've done my best to try to schedule stuff over the holidays, so we're sort of segueing into that here. I have an episode recorded already of Loose Cannon that I have to edit, and the idea is everything we're recording over the course of this week, except for
the Game Awards,
and our gift guide, are going to be saved for our hiatus, and for the end of December into January, and we'll have 1 or 2 episodes every single week, basically 1 episode a week of something, plus Earth versus Soup during that whole time. So probably on a Monday or Tuesday, wherever we would normally put out the show, we're going to put out one of those episodes. So I have a Loose Cannon on actually a few different topics. We're having a blaxploitation one on blaxploitation spoof movies. We've also we've got one in the works because I've got the planning down for it. We're gonna do like a exploitation women action film one, Aaron and I.
Ooh.
We're also going to do one, Aaron and I, on the Lorenzo Lamas Snake Eater trilogy. You and I and Aaron are going to do one on the Weird Al movie and what's it called? UHF. We've also got Aaron and I are going to do a Future Imperfect at around New Year's to do the Star Trek year in review, because that's when Prodigy ends, and I know you're probably not going to be able to catch up with all the shows by then, right? So we're going to do that. And yeah, so we're going to have like 5 or 6 loose cannons. We're also going to, what was the other loose cannon? I recorded one already here. We recorded one on Treasure of the Four Crowns, which is weird, and Stunt Rock. That's the first one. So there's a bunch of stuff that I've got in the works, and that's all I'm basically going to commit to, except you and I might do a Christmas commentary. We didn't get a chance to do one last year, I don't believe, did we?
I don't think so. We'll try and do something fun.
We'll try to do something for Christmas. But yeah, so that's what I've got in the works. And then anything else, y'all are on your own. You got to figure it out. No, I'll post it, but I'm not recording anything else beyond those 4 or 5 loose cannons and that. And then of course, the plan is to try to get, if we can schedule people together
for Power Rangers.
For Power Rangers, it's really going to depend on everybody's work schedules and what's happening during the holiday season, right?
Yeah.
So the goal is to have that recorded during that break and then probably release it sometime in the new year, because there's not enough time in the next 3 weeks to have it recorded, edited, and put it out.
Yeah, so we will be doing that early next year at some point. I am planning Transformers. That's in the works right now. And then will we come back to Stargate? Maybe during the summer. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. So anyway, guys, like I said, I just really want to thank everybody who's been with us this year. Thank you, Alex, for taking care of the show when I've been sick this year, for looking after me after surgery, for just being the best friend I could really ever ask for.
And, it was fun, but this was an odd year. Let's be honest. Like between you had a break for a few months at the beginning of summer. And so I was doing it solo, and then I had a break for a couple months, and then we came back, and like I injured my knee that was pretty bad for like a month. It felt like we weren't really recording together for 6 months out of the year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We were still in constant contact. We had reviews recorded and everything, but you noticed that it was like this was an odd year for getting people together and recording. It's funny how easy it was to do during the pandemic at first, maybe because everybody was in lockdown. It was easy to wrangle when you couldn't do anything else. But if anything, this year has taught me to appreciate all the friends that we've got in this, hobby of ours.
Yeah, I mean, I loved working with Aaron during your month break, like coordinating different shows. I loved working with JT during those Loose Cannons with Ken. Was a fantastic experience, and it just proves the versatility of our team, of the people we have here working at TWIG. And there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out next year. And like I said, as we move into 16 years of doing a podcast, we are old enough to get a driver's license now.
It's it's hard to believe it's literally going to be 6 years for me in the spring. It doesn't feel like it.
No, like it feels like you and I have been friends forever, but it's only been the last 6.
And I mean, like, who would have thunk it was, Mass Effect Andromeda that got me started with you?
Yeah. So
there's something good that came out of that game.
You are not wrong. You are not wrong. So
except that it also included my first blunder, which was probably not the most appropriate thing to say during an interview. In that I didn't feel that that the sex scenes were equal between all the different parties. It was like the heterosexual scenes had way more detail, and I was mad that 2 guys couldn't get it on and 2 girls couldn't scissor.
Thanks, Alex.
Which again, obviously we're joking now. I'm joking. It was
a direct quote, I might add.
It's a direct quote. It was an off-color comment, but the point behind it was valid. It was clearly not. It was not balanced.
Yeah, it was not equal.
But I just remember the silence from you when I said that.
The look on my face.
The look on your face. And there was a couple other times we've had blunders and said things or had to alter things, especially during a lot of the live recordings for Cambridge Chronicles, stuff that will never ever come out because I think we made sure to burn the hard drives.
Yep, I think I remember taking a hammer to one of them.
There was one where we were like, "Oh, we lost it." And you're like, "Well, how did we lose it?" We lost it.
Like okay.
We lost it. There's no salvaging this. Is it hilarious? Yes. Is it okay? No.
Exactly.
But so there's been a lot of growth in the last 6 years for me. I think you've had a dramatic change in the last 6 years when it comes to podcasting style. You're a nicer person. Does that make for better content? I don't know. But we're a nicer, more inclusive community, I think, now than ever.
Yeah, like it's been really good. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go because I think Beaker wants cuddles. So
I want to play with the kitty.
So you will be meeting Beaker and Dutch very soon. So I just want to say from all of us at This Week in Geek, a final goodbye from Dr. Wily, but fully expect me to talk about him in the future. A welcome hello from Beaker and Dutch. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from me and Blair and Alex and anybody who's ever been on this show. We wish you guys the best in 2023. I hope you have the best Christmas or holiday that you can possibly have. And as a personal note, if you can find the time to do something nice and wonderful for someone this holiday season, if you have the means to do so, just do it. Because I think you're going to make someone's day better.
Exactly. And you know what? The holidays are rough for a lot of people. You know, regardless of whether or not you celebrate any religious aspect to any of these holidays or the family aspect, some people, it's not a good time for them. And if you're listening to us and you're having fun with us, great. That's amazing. If it is a rough time and you're having a hard time, you can feel free to reach out to us on our social media platforms. And it doesn't mean we're going to, you know, it can be anonymous. We don't have to talk. We're not going to like brag, oh, we talked to a fan. No, if you want to talk to us, just reach out and DM us or contact us. You know, if you're just feeling down or want to make a comment, we'll converse. Well, you know, we're here to help. You know, that's what we want to do.
Exactly. So be sure to reach out at ThisWeekInGeek or at Birdman. across every major platform. We will be around. So Alex, any closing words from you other than what you just said?
Whoop, whoop, a doop, eat my poop.
And it's FDA approved. So on that note, for This Week in Geek, for the final time for the regular show, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other. Happy holidays. We will talk to you guys again on our holiday gift guide and our final show on the Game Awards. And we're going to see who wins later on this week. So we'll catch you guys again next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.